Welcome back to Basic Bananas Radio, where we share tried and tested ways to grow your brand and get more customers. Everything from the latest in marketing and branding, right through to growing your team and creating an irresistible culture.
Hi, and welcome back to Basic Bananas Radio. Today, I am talking with Christian Geissendoerfer, and we're talking about all things revenue operations and looking at the right systems to use in your business and also how to think about end-to-end when it comes to your customer experience. So let's jump straight in. Hey, Christian, thank you so much for joining me on this episode today.
Hey, nice to be on the show.
So Christian, or Christian, as we would say in Swiss, runs a few different companies and has been in the marketing space for a very long time. And right now he is the founder and is heading up a company called V-Based Digital. And Christian, you are quite seasoned when it comes to RevOps, revenue operations, and also using the right system, using the right tech stack to look at the business from the beginning. So looking at where the leads come into all the way to when there is a sale and then referrals and really end-to-end operations. So let's maybe start with RevOps. What is this whole thing? Revenue operations, for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. What is it and what's the purpose?
Cool. So RevOps, or revenue operations, as you said, it's a kind of a discipline in a business which usually you not think of when you start a business or when you're just doing your marketing and sales, but it's really the idea of connecting the dots end to end. So you start with your lead generation, your marketing activities, inbound, outbound marketing, but then it comes from a marketing qualified lead over to what's called a sales qualified lead. You put it in your sales pipeline, you win a deal, you lose a deal, then you fulfill your services, your product, you have your customer service and support. And RevOps really tries to connect the dots so that you reduce the friction between the different functions, or if you have teams together, so that you have a unified, really customer experience from end to end, which gives a higher customer satisfaction, obviously, and will help you to keep your clients, to upsell, and eventually get your clients also to recommend your business, right? So at the end, to support your revenue growth.
I love that expression, connecting the dots. I feel like even, as entrepreneurs, that's our job, is to connect the dots and find the solutions and look for patterns. And when we talk about RevOps, you mentioned that we need to look at from the beginning lead gen and then qualified leads, marketing, inbound, outbound. Then those leads, some of them become sales qualified, and we have a sales pipeline, and it all needs to be under the banner of customer experience. Where would you say, let's say anyone comes to you, any business, and they don't have too much in place just yet in terms of systems and in terms of, that structure, where would you start? What are maybe some questions that you would get someone to ask?
Well, I would look at the systems first you have already installed. And systems is tools, right? This is like maybe your MailChimp or your Klaviyo or your Pipedrive. I mean, there's tons of tools out there when you look at marketing, sales, and customer support. And there are many free tools to get started. However, what happens quickly is then when you start to use different tools, you have your data in the different tools, right? Let's say you have your MailChimp, you run your email campaigns, then maybe use like a Pipedrive or something else for your CRM, and then you have maybe an intercom early stage usage for the customer support. And what happens quickly is that you build these data silos. So you have the different data of those touch points or the interactions with the customers in different systems. And when you then, again, trying to connect the dots, you have either to manually import, synchronize data, and already that creates an overhead for yourself. It also doesn't really support what's called a single source of truth for data. When you then, let's say you're on the customer support side, you would ideally in the same place want to see what products the clients have been using or not using, or where initially the client came from. Was it a blog post or is it an ad? So you want to try to connect those dots and be able to then give best of class customer support, basically.
Yeah, and so what you would recommend when you work with someone, you look at the systems that they have in place, and from what I'm hearing is your recommendation is to use, if possible, one single source of truth. For you, in your case, you work with HubSpot a lot. Are there any other such systems that you recommend that are affordable for small businesses?
So that, yes, there are options. I mean, HubSpot itself offers a free entry plan, offers a startup plan, the HubSpot platform, which is about $25 a month. So that's affordable. Obviously, then there are certain features which are locked. So if you want to then use more, then they try to get you to upgrade. But you have other platforms like Zoho, for example, or other CRM systems which have the marketing functions that support even invoicing. So for small businesses, there's a number of these systems out there. The key again is for me that you have your data in one platform and you don't need to manually import or synchronize data to have the possibility to work with the single source of truth of data.
And where does customer experience come in? What should we discuss about that? What can you share in terms of good practice to provide an incredible customer experience, and even some practical examples that you may have?
So customer experience is, again, across those different touch points, a unified best of class experience for your end customer, right? For your client. Be it the first interactions on your marketing efforts, right? Consistent branding already, it starts with that. The content you have out there, interesting content. Then when it comes to the sales part, right? That the person who works on sales has the information back from the marketing channels, right? So can connect to that, can build up from there, all the way then obviously using your product, if a SaaS product or a service you're delivering, that you again consistent in the way you brand yourself out there, the experience the customer has with your product and service. And when there's an issue or like a support ticket or so, then again, the same experience. And I think a really world-class good example is Apple here. I mean, obviously Apple is huge, but if you think of Apple's consistent experience from the products, the online shopping experience, right? The Apple Store, the offline Apple Store, and also going across the channels, right? You can order in the online store, you can go and pick it up in an Apple Store physical retail location. When you log into your account, you have all your devices or your subscriptions in one place. So really that consistency across those different channels, I think that's one of the world-class best examples on delivering a consistent, great customer experience for you.
Yeah. Even when you buy the product and the packaging, when you open the unboxing experience,
that's on top of it, right? I mean, Apple sells not products; they sell you the touch and feel, the emotions around it, the use of the products, right? So, I mean, at the end, you buy a product or a service from them, but as you said, right, it's the packaging, it's the whole experience, end to end across different channels and touch points, which really stand out. And if you compare that maybe to banks, many banks, in my experience, and especially if you look at the more like I'm based in Vietnam at the moment, so Southeast Asia, the online experience is broken, the usability is terrible. You have to call physically customer support. You can't just message, for example, right? So that creates friction for the customer and frustration ultimately, where if you are very consciously addressing that and building your mindset around it in the first place, and then back to platforms, use a system or multiple systems, but ideally connected to help you deliver that experience to the customer. I think that's key.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, the banking example is a great example also here in Australia. I would love to work with some of the banks here to help them with some of their customer experience, and their whole marketing game is just very interesting. What are some maybe smaller businesses that you have worked with, some examples that you can share without, naming who they are, that have done some really good stuff? Have you got an example that you can share of a small business that you think, oh yeah, they've done a pretty cool job with their customer experience?
So I can probably talk about one business I'm supporting right now. They're based in Singapore, and it's a marketplace for M&A transactions. They are building new since less than a year, basically. And what they actually initially did, they built a website where companies could register if they want to sell their company, or buyers of companies, right? It was a own web system, and they came on HubSpot also for the CRM part. And we discussed actually initially also don't we want to build the application, the marketplace, right on top of HubSpot first? And they said, well, it's probably too expensive to do that for us now. Now, 6 months into it, we actually came back to not only connecting the website, which was done from the start, but deeper integrate what's happening on the website with the HubSpot CRM, because at the end of the day, you have a selling company or somebody with a selling intent, you have a buying intent. They sit all in CRM, but you want to know, did they come from a newsletter? Did they come from a form submission on the website? And you don't have to duplicate the data and then synchronize them, right? So this is I think for me, a good example where they, from the start, also in their prospecting, they use a lot of LinkedIn, for example, to find sellers, especially, or maybe companies who even don't think of selling yet, but they could be potential targets. So they really try now to provide a seamless experience from the first touch point, the first outbound, over then to the nurturing of emails, or for example, automatically matching potential sellers when they come new on the platform with the buyers through then the CRM where the matching is happening, all the way then to, when they work on the deals, that's then of course in kind of an advisory process, right? So this is where then the real activity happens. But by having the data all in one platform they are able to then have a very meaningful conversation when it comes to the next steps of developing the deal.
Yeah. What would be some, as we come to the end of this conversation, first of all, is there something that you would like to share that maybe I haven't asked you yet? And then secondly, what are some very practical steps we can give our listeners to go through? And I've got some ideas there too. So is there anything else that you would like to share? Maybe something I haven't asked you.
So coming back to RevOps as a discipline, right? It may sound too big for you right now if you're in an early stage, or maybe a smaller business, but I think going out there and check resources, just educate yourself, right? HubSpot, for example, has free academy where you can just go and you take 3-4 of the RevOps classes and to get better understanding of the idea behind what's all in there beyond what I was sharing already. So spend a little of time to understand better and get your own mindset in this end-to-end connecting the dots. I think that's something which I can highly recommend. So I would suggest for that.
Right. And then in terms of really, I love to give our listeners really clear action steps. And this is what I'm thinking. And please let me know if you have any other ones. I was going to say for the listener, first of all, have a look at, even the HubSpot library and look up RevOps. And there's information on there for free to consume. First one. And then secondly, look at your own RevOps. So look at your entire system, maybe map it out on paper and see what are all the pieces, how is it working, what's your marketing, where are the people coming from, what happens once they've come into your system, how do you nurture them, what happens if they become interested in sales, in buying something, what happens after they've bought, what happens all the way throughout with the customer experience. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, but you give exactly what I would
Perfect.
suggest also. And I mean, with our clients, many times we do first what we call a tech stack audit, and that sounds more complicated than it is, but it's basically that process, right? We look at what different types of tools are you currently using in your marketing, in your sales, in your customer support, and yeah, mapping it out, looking also at like the usage of it, right? How they are connected to each other or not. Also, what you pay for it. I mean, SaaS subscriptions add up quickly and quicker than we many times realize it. So really mapping that out, taking a step back, see how everything is connected, and then probably think through, okay, can I consolidate somehow, right? Can I use a different tool which connects the dots better? Of course, migration or like going to a new tool is an effort, but I think looking at that initial effort versus the benefit in the long term might be useful. And yeah, I mean, again, I can only recommend checking out resources, Googling also a bit about what other platforms are there. I mentioned Zoho. I mean, there's a couple of others which have affordable entry pricing as well, in order to then support that transversal connecting the dots operations.
Right. Thank you so much, Christian. Where can people find out more about you? Where they can connect with you? Where can I connect with you? Where would you like to send them?
Well, you can either just check our website, vbase.digital, and connect from there, contact us. Otherwise, my LinkedIn is always open. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send a message that you saw me here on the podcast, and I'd be happy to also just have a conversation and help to reflect with some ideas.
Great. Amazing. We'll add those links also in the show notes. And thank you again. Thank you, Christian, for taking the time. And thank you, listener, for tuning in. As always, it's such an honor that we have your ears, your time. And that's why we always, make sure we have so many practical things for you to implement. So thank you again for tuning in.
It was my big pleasure. Thank you very much.
To get more from Basic Bananas and to learn new ways to grow your business with clever marketing, visit basicbananas.com.